Well, I don't know if I can, we can compete with Ultimo, but we do have a video in our presentation, so that's exciting. My name's Veronica DeVore. I'm the head of audience at Swissinfo. We are the international service of the Swiss Broadcasting Corporation. So you might know Deutsche Welle, you might know BBC World Service. We're very similar to them, we're just much smaller, and we operate out of Switzerland. I have the pleasure to have Thomas here with me. Syde is our partner in well, the changing over to WordPress. Our colleagues from the Times described it really well. We had a similar experience. Just a few months later, we switched to WordPress from a previous CMS in February. So today we'll share a bit about specific challenges that we at Swissinfo face that WordPress is now helping us to address. And I particularly work at the intersection of tech and editorial to think about how our journalism is delivered to audiences. So that's what we'll focus on today. So to start, I'd like to just give you a short intro to Swissinfo and what we're all about.
SWI Swissinfo.ch, news and information from Switzerland contextualized in 10 languages and brought to life through expert online multimedia storytelling. Our journalists focus on distinct areas of reporting and have the knowledge to bring the most relevant issues to life for specific communities around the world. Discussing with our audiences is an important part of our work, whether in debates on our website or in conversations across social media platforms. We aim to reflect the diversity of a Swiss audience abroad and enable understanding of Switzerland's role in a global society. The latest online tools and innovations mean we're constantly evolving to bring an international audience the stories they need.
And I'll turn it over to Thomas.
Hello, everyone. My name is Thomas. I'm a full-stack WordPress developer for Syde. You might know we recently changed our name, but we are still wearing the green shirts. Yeah, and we were, as Veronica said, the partner agency for the Swissinfo project. And to start off, I just want to go a brief overview about the project we did. So it was a full migration of all the articles, users, and media from an existing CMS solution to WordPress. We launched in February this year after roughly 1.5 years of development. And it involved rebuilding the existing design and functionality of the website into WordPress, and we also provided a highly customized blog editor with many custom blogs and custom controls where the journalists can create their articles every day. And yeah, what's a bit special about Swissinfo is that the WordPress is embedded in a system of microservices, which are hosted on AWS, Amazon Web Services, which are actually developed by another agency and in-house developers at Swissinfo. And yeah, I can skip to the next slide, which shows an overview of that whole infrastructure. As you can see on the right side, we use WordPress basically for the content creation. All the articles are created in WordPress and images are uploaded, and then there are different microservices. That makes that project highly API driven. So we built a complete custom API on top of WordPress with its own namespace, extending the WordPress REST API with many custom endpoints. We use the API to both retrieve data and also insert data. For example, the terms and taxonomies are managed outside of WordPress in its own service. It's the toolbox. And yeah, we just use the API then to insert and update these terms in the WordPress database. And we also fetch the content for publishing to social media or for the native iOS and Android apps which exist. So that is just a short and brief overview of the whole complex infrastructure. And yeah, Veronica will now present unique challenges, and then I will follow up with an explanation how we did the technical implementation of these.
Great. So the first challenge that we face in general is linguistic diversity. So we publish in 10 languages, including Arabic, Japanese, Russian, so languages with different alphabets. And for several years now, we've been wanting to offer our audience the ability to discuss or debate topics that we cover with our journalists. And so we've done that in basically a single thread that's translated, auto-translated into all 10 languages. In addition, we do a lot of adaptation and translation between languages, be it of stories, of videos. Basically, all our content is sort of in flux across the whole organization. The editors can pick from a menu of available stories. And so there's a lot happening language-wise that presents, I think, a unique challenge also for WordPress implementation. So again, this is basically what it looks like. And having in CMS translation options obviously makes life a lot easier day to day. So one solution to that was multilingual WordPress, which Thomas can explain.
Yeah, exactly. We are using Multilingual WordPress, which is a WordPress plugin developed by Syde. So it's a plugin from our agency. It works in the way that we use WordPress multi-site, and for every language we have a site in the network. And yeah, for journalists it's very easy to create article translations right in the blog editor and then just translate their content. And one particular feature I want to talk about is the automatic comment translation, because I want to go over there, I have to look. Because yeah, that is a little bit innovative and I really like that feature. So we actually synchronize comments across the sites, all the language sites. So when someone, for example, posts a comment on the English side, we translate it to all the other language versions. In the way it works, as a first step, we detect the actual language using AI. We send it to the Amazon Comprehend API. And that's just to make sure if someone posts a French comment on the English side, we actually can detect, oh, that's on the wrong language side, and we store it in the right one. And that makes sure that the comment can properly moderate it, so the German-speaking journalists only see the German comments. And once that comment is approved, we send it to another service, which is DeepLI, for AI translation of that comment. And then we replicate basically the translated comment to all the language sites in the network. And in that way, we allow the users to discuss the same topic across multiple languages, so they can reply to each other, and they can discuss without language barriers. And that's kind of cool, and the AI just works in between and goes back and forth to translate it.
I'm learning a lot. I had no idea there was so much behind all of this. And then we also face this challenge of how to draw people into our content once they're with us. So many of our international readers find us via search, via social. The big question is, how do we keep them interested in what we have and show them more once they're with us? And so just this week, on Monday, we deployed these widgets. You see them on other news websites as well, but for us, this was a first stab at these article widgets that appear next to a story to tell people, what's the most watched video, what are the most deeply read stories. We borrowed that from The Guardian. They did a metric that we liked, which shows not only how often people click on something, but in fact how much time they're spending with that piece of content. So that was a really nice thing we were able to develop fairly quickly once we had WordPress in place. And Thomas again can explain how that came into being.
I will, so the implementation consists basically of two things. The first one is a microservice hosted on AWS that was actually not developed by us. That service, recommendation service, just provides an API with 4 endpoints for the most discussed, deeply read, and so on for the different article recommendations. And in the background, as far as I know, it uses Parsley and Map Intelligent as a data source, so it has a connection integration to that services, which deliver data like the most read post, how much time spent a user on reading an article, the most streamed videos, and so on. And based on that, it recommends basically the articles. And the second thing is then the implementation in WordPress. What we do is just retrieve post IDs from the REST API of that service. On the right side, you can see a picture of the schema of the API. And based on that post IDs, we fetch just the articles from the WordPress database and display it in the right sidebar. And yeah, include all the logic, where and how these widgets appear, because it's based on the type of article, category, and so on. And of course, we also integrate that third-party analytics scripts, for example, for Parsley, and provide the structured data that Parsley needs to analyze all the content.
And finally, we have more challenges than just 3, but another priority that we had was we don't cover anything and everything to do with Switzerland in great depth. We focus on certain areas where we feel there's a particular intersection with the world, with the global community. So one example is the pharma industry, another example is banking, another example is everything happening in Geneva around international diplomacy. So we go kind of deep into these niche topics, and we wanted to find a way to present those in a bundle to the reader so that our offering was more clear, the links between stories were more clear, and also we have a lot of so-called evergreen stories, which we can also identify thanks to Parsley, those stories that are deeply read for a long time after publication. And we felt like being able to combine this content in a more visually appealing way would really help us surface those to the readers. So for now, we have this bundle on our homepage in all of our languages. We'd like to now package it and display it elsewhere, also on article pages. But this was another kind of, I'd say, quick win that we were able to implement quite soon after WordPress launched. So take it away, Thomas.
Thank you. Yeah, so to allow Swissinfo to quickly arrange content on a new page, especially the front page, and showcase the most important articles, we developed a range of custom blogs called teaser blogs with different layouts. So it's very flexible how the front page can be composed. And the content is mostly coming from query lists, which you can see on the right picture. And a query list is basically an extra custom taxonomy we introduced, which allows to configure a post selection. And there are multiple search conditions and patterns and groups you can match, and you can really go nuts in there to define exactly which content should appear. And then you can select that query list in the individual blocks, and then the content is displayed by the block. And doing it in that way, it's decoupling a little bit the selecting of content by the query list and then the displaying of content by the block. So, which allows to reuse the query list in multiple blocks and just have one point of change. So it allows for a lot of flexibility, how these kind of pages can be composed.
Great. Well, thank you all for your attention. And if you have any questions for either of us, please just find us or reach out. And thanks again on behalf of both of our teams.
Yeah, thank you.